So,
No. I mean, you've bombed presentations.
oh,
I've bombed presentations.
I think for me, part and trying to understand why this happens, right?
Yeah.
And that comes down to the confidence issue, I think, as well. Because, I'm going to go way back here, way back, because I don't have a business degree, for example. So when I went to college, I was an idealistic young person. I was going to change the world and, become a minister. And I ended up doing that for a while. So my bachelor's degree is in religious studies. And so when I actually kind of pivoted into small business, I remember the first time I was asked to publicly speak, because I found in an early age that I had a knack for small business. So I had a janitorial contracting company, remember when you were a kid, before we moved to Texas, and had, a bunch of employees. And so the local, almost like the Reece supply, but of janitorial contracting, it's called Waxy Sanitary Supply. Waxy.
Yeah.
And, big organization. And they would have conferences just like Reece does. And then they asked me, because I was this young guy in my 20s, and all of a sudden I had this janitorial contracting company with like 100 employees, and we were rocking. And they wanted me to speak, like, how did you do it? And I remember really kind of bombing that talk.
Which is funny because your background was
speaking.
Ministry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I spoke all the time, and I would speak at youth conferences, 2,000 people, 3,000 people, led big, missions trips to Mexico and, all that stuff. You remember all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was because it was this idea in my mind, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to give this talk, even though it was ridiculous. Like I was running this successful company and I was still a kid doing it. And I had public speaking experience. I mean, heck, a big part of my degree was homiletics, right? Which is the art of public speaking. And, and
that's a fun word, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
And, I aced all those classes and loved it. I loved to do it. And all of a sudden, this was my first time publicly speaking outside of that, outside of that setting. And I excuse my, that's French.
You censored yourself.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more sensitive to that.
Freaking.
But, I mean, I bombed, and I mean, I got through it eventually and it was fine, but.
Just with giant pit stains.
Oh, my God.
Heart going 120 beats per minute.
Oh, yeah. They had to bring in the defibrillator.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Why does that happen to people?
Well, I think that it's different. It's different when you're asked about something you are supposed to be a SME or a subject matter expert in, right? Because then it starts to really go against your imposter syndrome. And like you said, am I qualified for this? And you question your own qualifications. Even though someone sought you out based on your qualifications, you start to question them yourself. Like, do they think I'm more than what I am? And like as a woman in this industry who's of the younger generation,
compared to me,
right?
Who was, at Reece in 1936.
I'm telling you, at Texas Sign Association, intoxicated or not, a gentleman came up to, and he was a gentleman, came up to me and said, I look 27, so.
It's a baby face.
It is. I have bangs now. You can't see my wrinkles. Yeah, I think that, it's different versus just like, ministry would be talking to a crowd about someone else's word, technically, right?
Yeah.
And like their expertise and but then you're asked, like I said, tell us about your business. Like, I don't know anything about my business.
Yeah.
Like, what business? It's just that same like heart racing, sweaty palms. Like I said before, like I just sound like I'm going to cry.
It reminds me, after I sold my sign shop, I worked for another company for a couple of years, and we did big projects, and I was involved with a lot of the sales. And this was a big pitch we were doing, and we were going to an architect's office, and we thought we were just going to be sitting across the table from, one or two people, the primary person that we had been talking to. And so I went there with myself and the two owners, and it was a big presentation, and we were well prepared. The layouts were beautiful, the concepts were beautiful, all of it. And we get there, and I am not kidding you. Like there was one there was us sitting across from like 5 architects and another few standing against the wall behind them. So, which you had that, so they had that view like you were looked down on. And it was still fine. Like we were ready to go. And one of the architects asked the owner, why should we work with your company?
Oof.
So you're off script anyway, right?
Yeah.
And the owner, he did fine eventually. He loosened up, but he froze, like froze. He just couldn't, he was choked on his words. And I don't know. I ended up picking up a little bit and then he loosened up and it was fine, but you could tell he just, it was the idea of speaking in that setting with all those experts.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought about that later. And I think we all go through this, right? Where, and especially sometimes if you're a sign shop owner and you started and you were a technician first, so maybe you were an installer or maybe you were, a fabricator or whatever, you decided, hey, I'm going to start my own shop. And you're in those settings and you look at someone that's like an architect or someone that owns a general contracting company. And somehow in your mind, you think, I'm only a sign guy. I remember when we interviewed Lori Anderson, right? And she talked about only whatever. And that's not true. And I think what happens is we look at them and think, oh, these are the real professionals.
And why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, we have just as much knowledge just in it. They don't know what we know.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, blow your ego up. You know everything. You don't. But like, you should always continue to learn. But they're bringing you in as a subject matter expert because they need that.
Yeah. You would not be invited to the table.
Yeah.
If you, and you should be confident in that.
Again, I think that speaks to imposter syndrome, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about, but a lot of this brings up that or really answers that question, right?